Shalom, shalom. Shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Ha'irab tawabla atamza achekam yawam. Manarchado Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawam from the GMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam kayah malakat hashabayim kara. Repent ye for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call layim la la abanawa Yahweh bahasham Yahweh Shai. Bahasham rocha hakodash wa mashana la zakwanim nawa. Wa malakiam shor chakadar, which is our praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, delivers in double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. So this is an article on Fox News. It says UFO footage captured by the U.S. Navy shows mysterious aircraft launching from sea, expert says, which it says UFO, but it will be identified, because we understand that these are the chariots of the Lord. But it says so-called UFOs were spotted over the coast of California by Navy sailors. It says a group of unidentified flying objects spotted by Navy sailors is raising eyebrows after witnesses reported watching the oddly shaped aircraft rise from the ocean before jetting off in a synchronized fashion last year. And which I'm not going to read into this whole article, but we'll get some precepts. It's been a increase, an uptick of, chariot sightings, and essentially what this represents is the downfall of this man's society, all right? In which Esau understands that's why he has to, essentially, go great lengths to ultimately do a lot of censoring and, cut the NASA feed and things as such, or say, oh, it was balloons and stuff like that, but it's going to come a point in time to where he's not going to be able to use his deception, all right? This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, "Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits," which is going into the measurements. And the top, the subtitle says, "The flying scroll." And it says, "Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief." And it's talking about the hegemony of Esau, Edom, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. So essentially, the thief, all right, essentially again goes into Esau, Edom, because he has, the Israelites in his rulership, and then also the heathen, in the various same captivities that Jacob scattered to, you see, but predominantly Esau, Edom, but these essentially represent the downfall of his hegemony in his society. So let's get a couple precepts going into this. This is Psalms chapter 104, and we'll get verse 3, and it says, we'll start at verse 1. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, O Lord my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who covereth thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain." And which, when it says stretched out the heavens like a curtain, it's some Hebrew words that go into this, but essentially the heavens is, stretched out like a curtain. It's actually a word that, goes into the heavens being stretched out like a curtain, but it's actually how the word is comprised, and it shows it in the actual creation itself. But continuing on, verse 3, it says, "Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind." All right. So this word for cloud, it says aib. All right, and essentially, at times, the chariots cloak themselves as clouds. All right, pretty much like in the daytime, So continuing on, let's get Psalms Tahoyam chapter 68. We'll get verse 17, and it says, "The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place." All right, and essentially, the Lord Yahweh Shai, all right, is essentially, he's riding on that fathership, All right, and ultimately, when the Lord Yahweh Shai returns, okay, essentially, he's going to return on the fathership, and it's going to be a lot of killing and destroying of the heathen hegemonies. All right, in 2/3. Let's get that real fast. This is Second Ezra chapter 13. We'll get verse 5. It says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea," talking about Yahweh Shai. "But I beheld, and lo, he graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it," talking about the fathership. "But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight." Could the Lord gonna put the spirit on them to fight? It says, "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid." That's essentially what's going to happen, to 2/3 in the heathen. It's going to be the nukes, all right, and the Lord Yahweh Shai and the angels essentially zapping everything. All right. So let's also get this. We'll get just to go into that point, let's get this. Zayashaya, this is Isaiah chapter 26, and we'll get verse 20. And it says, "Come, my people, into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed." All right, and that's ultimately again going into, the nukes, hitting this place, because as the elect is being beamed up, all right, the nukes is going to be coming down. It's going to be a simultaneous it's going to have a simultaneous effect, all right, because again, as the nukes is going down, the elect is going to be going up, all right, and ultimately the elect is going to be delivered from the destruction. All right, so let's also get this, because we're talking about the destruction. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 66. We'll get verse 15. And it says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebukes with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." All right. All right, going into Isaiah the 63rd chapter, the Lord, which Isaiah the 63rd chapter goes into, it's a similitude for how much, destruction the Lord is going to do, how much killing the Lord is going to do, you see, because the Lord is not, the Lord isn't happy, you see, and when the Lord comes back, he's coming to judge. All right. So, we'll get a couple more, and then that'll be it. This is Revelation chapter 1, or we get Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 8, and it says, "Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as doves to their windows?" And again, that's the chariots. The chariots, they essentially can cloak themselves as sometime at night they look like a twinkling star, you see, but in the daytime they'll be cloaked as a cloud. All right. Let's grab this. This is Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierce him." All right, again, going into Psalm 68, and I believe it was verse 17, he cometh with clouds. It says, "And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall well because of him, even so Amen." So the Lord's going to put it back in their spirit, all right, because the Lord was pierced, all right, in the ancient world, you see, but it's going to be brought back into remembrance, those that pierced him, all right, in the time of the crucifixion, all right. They're going to have it in their mental. Again, the Lord is going to put it into their remembrance, you see, but the point being that the Lord is coming with clouds, which are the chariots, all right. So I'm going to get one more. This is Revelation chapter 11 and verse 12, and it says, "And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. It's going into Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, you know. But that cloud, again, going into the chariots, all right, and that come up hither, all right, that's essentially what the elect is going to hear, all right, when they're being delivered. You see, so yeah, I just want to go into that, you know, Adawan Tazah Sabanaya Apollo as well. That was a beautiful edification through the spirit. While Adawan Tazah Atam Yash Laila Tawab, Lord as well. You all have a good night. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace unto you all. Wa Amar Shana, or which is and to say again, or Wala Amar Shana, and to say again. Anachnawa went into Marakabyam, the chariots. So Adawan Tazaza Banaya Apollos, well, that was a beautiful edification through the spirit. While Adawan Tazah Atam Yash, like lots of wild, Lord as well. You have a good night. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace unto you all. Shalom, shalom.